Good morning, everyone. I'm Dave Stifler. I am the developer for Eagles in the Sky, which is, as you can see, is a World War One air combat game going to be published by Revolution Games. I am really happy to have Mike Lemick with me this morning. He is the designer of Eagles in the Sky. And so, real quick this morning, I'm going to ask Mike to kick off with about a 3 to 5 minute overview of the design itself. Just let him talk a little bit about the game, and then we'll look at the components, spend a little time looking at the campaign game and the various engagements. And then Mike and I, through the Vassal module, which you should be able to see if you're tracking the live feed, we're just going to play an engagement and let you see how the mechanics actually work. I think most of this is going to be fairly intuitive. But first, I'm going to turn it over to Mike just to talk a little bit about the game. Mike?
Yeah, hi, I'm Mike Lemick. This game originated back when I was the developer for Corsairs and Hellcats for GMT, the last of their Pacific Down in Flames games. I was sitting at a restaurant one day thinking about if there was any way to make a card-based air combat game that wasn't just a variant of Down in Flames. And I came up with the original idea for this, and I've been working on it off and on for, God, like the last 15 years now. The basic idea is this is completely a card-based game. There's no dice or anything. As you can see, there's just a play mat rather than any sort of map. Um, Cards are used both to maneuver the aircraft in relation to the opponent's aircraft, to do other things, and then the cards also do dual purpose, as you'll see, as the combat results tables for the game. Basically, you start with a flight of anywhere from 1 to 6 aircraft, along with a flight leader. Occasionally, there, depending on the type of mission you're playing, you will have like two-seaters of various kinds: bombers, observation aircraft, photo recon planes, that sort of thing. The engagements last 8 turns, and then at the end of it, you total up victory points based on if you've got mission aircraft, then performing missions, as well as damage and shooting down enemy aircraft. The game scales quite nicely. A one-on-one combat can be played well, as can a very large one, and it plays it very quickly. I would imagine, even doing it via Vassal, that with a 3-on-3, we should be done in 20 minutes to 25 minutes with the scenario. The game can be played as individual scenarios like this, or it can be played as a campaign. In a campaign, you get a squadron of 12 aircraft plus pilots, and you play through 5 days of missions, which are pre-drawn off of a campaign card. And you have to kind of juggle how many planes you want to commit to a mission versus damage that you've taken, and versus the fatigue that your pilots are feeling from flying too much. And at the end of that, you earn campaign points. At the end of the campaign, you see who has the most campaign points, and they're the people who won. As you can see, there are these um, sets of boxes off to either side of where the aircraft are set up. Those are dogfight displays. Once planes get into a dogfight, which can include up to 4 planes, even though there's 6 boxes, they are put onto one of those, and that keeps track of who's tailing who and how good a shooting solution they have. That's where you also keep track of what altitude the dogfight is at, and if the aircraft at the head of the dogfight, shall we say, decides to climb to another level, you keep track of the climb progress, because it will almost always take more than 1 turn to climb from one level to another, unless you've got a really high-performing aircraft. Um, and that's pretty much the way it works. I think you'll be able to get a pretty good idea of how it looks. Dave is going to go through some of the counters and cards and show you what all the values on there mean. And then we'll actually sit and play the thing. And if anybody has questions while we're playing, feel free to ask.
That's right. If you've got questions at any point in time, please chime in, and we'll stop what we're doing and answer those. And then I'm going to pepper Mike with some questions as we go along. So we're going to start just by taking a quick look at the components. And so every aircraft, so scouts in World War I parlance are what we would call fighters today. And for the purposes of this game, the two-seaters that you see here, we call those mission aircraft in the engagements, and they're going to do things like air reconnaissance and trench strafing and bombing and things of that nature. So you have 2 types of aircraft. The scouts determine hand size, right? If I have 5 scouts, my base hand is 5 cards. we'll get into that in a moment. But every card has 4 ratings on it, and they're fairly intuitive, right? You've got a climb rating with a nice up arrow, a dive rating, a speed rating, and an agility rating. And so those form the basis of how you compare to the other aircraft. And as we play maneuver cards, and we'll talk about that in a moment, those values added together kind of give you, will you get an advantage over the other aircraft or not? Here you can see the SE5 has a dive rating of 8, and the Albatross just a dive rating of 5. So much better in a dive. Probably how the SE5 would target the Albatross when he's playing his own cards. So everyone has agility ratings. Higher numbers are better. Lower numbers not so good. Over here on the left, every counter also has the number of guns that it has. Some have 2 guns, as you see here with the Albatross. Some have 1, like the SE5. And in fact, the SE5 has Lewis guns, and we'll talk about some of that stuff later. But if you look down at the 2-seaters, you can see that they have 2 numbers, and that's an indication that they have a rear gunner. So in the Albatross's case, both the forward-facing and the rear guns are 1 factor. For the Samson, the rear gunners fire with 2 guns, not 1 as the front. Also on every airplane, you'll see a defense class. There are 4 defense classes: F for fragile, N for normal, S for sturdy, and A for armored. And we only have I think it's 1 or 2 fragile aircraft in this game, and 1 armored. The rest are usually normal or sturdy. And then some aircraft has special characteristics, and you'll always see those at the bottom. The counter, as a matter of fact, I'll just show you real quick. Big special characteristics, and they're fairly self-explanatory, right? Covered guns are more difficult to unjam. Dual controls, so if your pilot gets killed, the gunner might be able to fly the plane home. High altitude engines. You're going to see weak wings in the demo that we're going to do today. And so that makes that plane much more difficult to fly in dive conditions. So every aircraft has special characteristics associated with it. Over here on the right, you see pilots. So Hollingsworth here is what we call a flight leader. He has a leadership rating up and his flying rating, and they affect your hand size and how many cards you can discard. There are a number of named aces in the game. Here we see Rick Toffen. He also has a leadership rating and a flying rating. And then in the rules, there are special abilities for each of the named aces. Like Frank Luke, very good at balloon busting. He's got some unique capabilities in that regard. And then let me just show you real quick. Here we go. So we have 5 different levels of quality in the game. And if you just take a quick read through this, you'll see that green pilots, much to your surprise, are not as good as experienced pilots. They can't respond if they're being targeted by an unengaged aircraft because they're green. All of their maneuver card ratings are -1, so a 3 card becomes a 2, a 2 becomes a 1, etc. There are some things they can't play. And then when you're inexperienced, well, you still get a little hit on your maneuver cards. And then we have experienced pilots who just play the game. They just fly without restriction. And then we already talked about flight leaders. Aces get a little bit better when they're tailing and under attack. You would expect that from an ace. And so that's pilot quality in a nutshell real quick. Let's take a quick look at the maneuver cards. Every card looks exactly like this as far as where the information and data is. Maneuver card rating up here. And then you can see these now are the how you could use that for your plane. So you could use that as a speed maneuver or an agility maneuver. So if we just came back up here real quick, we use the Albatross because it's sitting here. So if we play this as a speed maneuver for the Albatross when he activated, you would add 1 to his rating, and he would now be a 6. Or for the tight turn here, let's say the Samson was using that as a reaction card, he would add 2 to that. He would be 5. So that's how those work. Every card has a fire value and a damage table, unless it's telling you your guns are jammed. We'll talk about that in a second. So when you're firing, and you'll see this when we get into the engagements here in a few moments, you get a fire value. And so when you draw a card, you have to hit that fire value or lower to secure a hit. So my fire value was 3. I draw a 3. That's going to hit. And then the hit table is right here. So in the example above, the German plane had 2 guns. Well, you look here and cross it with the defensive class of the plane you're firing against. And it will tell you if you're getting a hit, right? Those are usually in bold, but they're always in bold. Superficial. Superficial means you're hitting canvas or things that don't matter. So anytime you get a hit in this game, it's against something that matters. Let me just show you real quick the damage table. So, superficial hits, you can take as many of those as it matters. You're just going to fill those with, gum and tape when you land. But when you start getting real, I'll say, hits that matter, like a wing hit, it immediately takes your ratings down. As you can see, your dive rating is down -2, your agility rating is down -1. If you take a second wind shot, well, you're shot down. And so, once you start getting into real hits, your plane these are cumulative, by the way. So if I had a wing hit and a control hit, my agility rating would be -3. So if my agility rating were 6, well, now it's a 3. And so, my opponent, if he's got cards that are agility cards, he might want to play those now because he knows he's going to get a much better advantage on me than what I'm doing here. So those are maneuver cards. And with that, we're going to switch tacks. So there are 2 sets of rules for this game, one for engagements. And we'll talk about the engagements. That's what we're going to fly today. And then there are also, as Mike said, campaigns. And right now we have 4 campaigns. I'm going to show you a campaign card here. This is for Cambrai. And so if you look at this up on the top left, it tells us that, well, the Allies are on the offensive. That makes sense. It says you're going to fly 6 missions a day. It's a lot of missions in a day. That gives you the month, and then it tells you which aircraft are available, and you'll pick one of those for your squadron. So the Germans either get an Albatross or a Pfalz, for instance. And then here's your starting cadre of 12 pilots. You'll notice the Germans don't start with any green pilots because until very late in the war, they generally speaking had more experienced pilots than the Allies. And then you'll choose the missions by drawing cards. So you'll draw 6 of these a day, and they might resolve as engagements or encounters. And encounters, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. We can talk more after the demo if you'd like, but encounters essentially are a die roll to resolve what happens, right? Did you get any campaign points? Was anybody shot down? How much fatigue is assigned? How many hits were on your aircraft and things of that nature? So you'll draw from that, and it'll tell you, what are we doing? Are we artillery spotting? Is it a patrol? Who's attacking and where the combat's going to happen? That matters if you're trying to return home at the end of the mission. And so here's the squadron log. So you keep track of all 12 planes, and if planes take hits during a mission, you can reassign those hits to a plane to cannibalize it, if you will, for parts. Because you can't fly a damaged plane. So if you have engine hits or a wing hit or a control hit, it's a hangar queen until you've repaired, and you can only do that at the end of the day. You play a morning phase and an evening phase. The fatigue points here, really that and the aircraft damage are going to keep you on your toes in the campaign game. So pilots, every time they fly a mission, they accrue fatigue. And just real quickly here, you can see if you fly a mission, you get a fatigue point. If it starts at medium or high altitude, you get a fatigue point. If you're flying a Sopwith Camel and you're green or inexperienced, you get a fatigue point because they were very difficult to fly, and Mike can explain why much more so than I can. But these accrue, and once you get beyond 4 fatigue points, you have to see if you are exhausted, and that carries other penalties with you until evening time, and then you recover a couple of points every night. But managing fatigue and the aircraft damage status in your squadron means that you're not going to be putting up 6 aircraft in every mission because you'll have nothing left at the end of day 1, and your opponent will smirk and laugh at you, and that's never any fun. Oh, I have been smirked and laughed at. All right, let me see. All right, let's come back and talk real quick about engagements, which is what we're going to do today. Here we go. So there are 8 different kinds of engagements in this game. Today, we're just going to be playing a patrol. We're just going to have at it with each other. But we could be doing photo reconnaissance or artillery spotting, trench strafing. And in those engagement types, there will be what we call mission aircraft, usually one of those 2-seaters. And every time they successfully conduct an artillery spot or a bombing attack or an airfield attack, you get a number of victory points for that. So, of course, your opponent is going to be trying to keep those aircraft engaged or shoot them down. And your aircraft there obviously are the covering force to try to keep that from happening while they complete their mission. Easy to set up an engagement. You just pick sides, determine what kind of an engagement you want to play, or you could roll on the table. When is it going to happen? Because that drives what aircraft are available, and then how many aircraft you're going to have. You pick an altitude and you get at it. It's that simple. It takes just a couple of minutes to set up an engagement. And then once you're in there, the sequence of play is pretty tight as well. So we start every turn except the first with a random events phase. So you'll draw and consult the table to see if you get an additional aircraft. Somebody's flying around, sees a furball happening, and he's just going to join. Or maybe he decides if he's had enough and someone turns for home. There could be clouds, or there could be a special event that takes place. Determine who has the initiative for the turn, and they get to play first. They get to activate first.
Revolution Games.
Your flight leaders in an engagement are very important. So, we talked about
US, like USA.
The flight leaders' ratings. So you got to pick one of those ratings, and that's what you add to your card hand. And the card hand is driven by how many scouts you have on the board at the time. So, for instance, at start right now, Mike and I both have 3 planes. And if you look at the German leader, his ratings are only 1, so I'm going to add 1 to my hand. I'll start with 4 cards in my hand. Mike, on the other hand, his flight leader has a value of 2, so Mike will start with 5 cards. That'll give him more flexibility in how he maybe reacts to me, or just gives him more hands, more options to get better cards. And so, come back over here to the sequence of play. So we'll draw cards up to your hand limit every turn, and then you activate. So you've got the initiative. You can play a card to activate one of your aircraft, and they get to activate once a turn. So you'll flip them over when they're done. Or you can pass. Now, 3 consecutive passes and the turn ends. Once you're out of cards, the turn ends. And then you go to the end phase. And if it's the end of the game, you check victory points. If it's not the end of the game, we just go back up to the top, and that tends to move pretty quickly. Mike, anything you'd like to say real quick before we roll into just playing the engagement?
No, I think that pretty well covers it.
All right. So I guess maybe one quick point. So all the values, obviously, on these planes are arbitrary to a point. Based on research Mike has done, and Mike knows, I would say, vastly more than I will ever know about World War I. But Mike, just real quick, if you don't mind, how did you come up with various, why am I defense normal here for the Albatross, but, some of the other aircraft are sturdy, for instance?
Anecdotal. There are books that have hard numbers as far as speed, climbing ability, and that sort of thing. But on the other hand, things could vary a lot with World War I aircraft. In fact, a lot of the books don't even agree with one another. So I just sort of took the best thing, based it on my own reading about the various aircraft. The normal, sturdy, fragile armored thing, the armored is fairly easy because there were almost no armored aircraft during World War I.
Right.
Sturdy was given to aircraft that were specifically known to be sturdy. Well, particularly well built, like the Spad 13, for example, or the Falls D3 for the Germans. The other ones were normal. There's only one fragile aircraft in this game, in the Newport 17. If we were ever to go to the earlier part of the war, the 1915, 1916 era, there would be a lot more fragile aircraft at that point. The special abilities, in some cases, like the DH-4 has dual controls, and that's simply a known thing. The weak wings were given to aircraft who had problems with that. For example, we have D5As in this particular case. There was one instance where a pilot had to actually make a forced landing from 16,000 feet when the entire lower wing of his D5A just fell off during combat. In fact, the German High Command actually sent around a memo to the squadron saying, "Don't dive these planes too hard." And it was a problem with the Allies too. The Newport 28 has the same issue. Another special ability is unreliable engines, which the Newport 28 also has. It had the engine that it had. Well, first of all, it would tend to cut out sometimes. Secondly, it would tend to catch fire on occasion. And third, if you stressed it too hard, it would actually start throwing cylinders. So, that's a plane that you can't stress too much as far as speed maneuvers go.
Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be flying one of those.
Yeah. And despite that, they use that engine in numerous Allied aircraft. So.
All right. Well, thanks, Mike. So we're just going to jump back over to the Vassal module here. Mike and I yesterday, or the day before, they've all blurred. We put together this engagement. We're just going to play a 3-on-3. And as you'll notice, we both have a flight leader. And we gave ourselves each a green pilot so you can see that mechanic and see that, in this era, green pilots oftentimes didn't last a week. In some cases, they didn't last a day in combat. And so that is very historically accurate as far as why there's so many restrictions on the green pilots. Mike and I have both drawn our hands, and so just by sequence of play on turn one, and by the way, we also decided that we're going to do this over no man's land, and we're going to start, as you can see, at low altitude. So it's turn one. Mike, because he so we have the same number of scouts here, etc. But Mike is going to have the initiative on turn one. That means he gets to play first. And so you won't see his hand come up in the window because we're on Vassal, but you'll get to see mine. So Mike, go ahead and make a card play, and I'll throw the action window up here so people can see your card that's being played.
Yeah, I'm going to activate this aircraft here, my experienced pilot aircraft, and I'm going to play a zoom climb, and I'm going to target his green pilot. Okay,
so because the aircraft are unengaged, the green pilot can't respond to that. So Mike has played a climb, so you see his rating is 6. That card makes it a 9, and my rating is a 5. So what that means is I'm going to come over here into the dogfight display, and Mike is going to be tailing me. And so there's 6 different levels of tailing, and it's based on the difference in the end state of the factors here as you play the card. So Mike is going to get to position 4. Position 4 is also going to set his fire value, right? So the cards are numbered 1 through 6, and then the possibility of a gun jam. So he's got a pretty good shot at getting a hit. I'm assuming that Mike is also then going to want to roll.
Yes, I am going to want to draw a card for fire.
All right. So
and unfortunately, I drew a 5, so I did not hit. I did not have a good enough position.
So had Mike hit, Mike only has 1 gun, so that is a little bit of a disadvantage for the Allies here. You can see.
Now you will see though that even with 1 gun, if I had been in position 5, since he's normal, he would have taken a wing hit.
That's right. All right, so Mike, mark your plane is activated. And on the backside of all the airplanes, easy to tell who's been activated or not. He's going to flip his plane over. It's got a red stripe on the back.
That's what I'm trying to.
Right click it, go all the way to the bottom.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah.
There we go. Yep. All right.
All right. So it is now the Germans' turn. So way. I don't have the cool, great cards like Mike has, so I'm going to play this one factor agility card or agility move.
So who are you activating, Dave?
So I'm going to activate my experienced pilot, and I'm going to take a shot here and try to get on top of his green pilot. So that makes me a 7 to his 6. So not much there, but.
And I don't have an agility card, so it's +1. So I'll be tailed.
Did you just grab them both? You did, didn't you? Oh, look at you.
Oh.
No, you didn't. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Sorry, Mike. Let me come up here. I'm not as fast as you are.
All right.
All right. So I am.
How do I rotate this thing now?
Go right click it. Look at the top. It has a rotate.
Yeah, I know, but all I'm getting is clone and delete.
So they're a little sticky. Let me do it for you. Sometimes you have to double click it and get the pilot off of there. So I'm in position. So I'm in position 1 now. It gives me a greater chance of getting a gun jam, but these allies, I'm tired of them. So I'm going to take a shot against Mike here, and anything other than 1 is going to miss, and that misses.
And it's a 3, so you're out of luck.
All right. So
and now you're activated.
So let's discard these cards. So down here now, Mike and I both have 1 unactivated. Well, we still have 2 unactivated.
No, we each have 2. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I can still activate this guy. We'll have to see how that goes. I am going to activate my my flight leader, and I am going to target. Yeah, I'm going to target the green pilot, and I'm going to play another zoom climb.
All right. So since Mike was unengaged, his flight leader, the green pilot cannot respond to that. So Mike is going to have a second.
No, actually, they can. Let me just check that to be sure, but they can't respond.
May not play a responsive targeted by an unengaged aircraft.
Yep. So he's also at position level 4. Now that will cause a possible collision too, since they're both at the same position. But that's something that'd be worth illustrating. So
Mike's ganging up on the weakling. Now the question is, do I gang up on his weakling in my turn or not?
okay. So I draw a card to see if I hit at position 4, and I do, but it's nothing but superficial damage.
That's right.
Now,
so if you look on the damage table here, so the defense rating for my aircraft is normal, and he's firing 1 gun, so it's superficial. So he's putting holes in my canvas.
Right.
He's hit, but he hasn't done anything worthwhile, if you will.
Yeah, and now both of these planes have to check. I will check for this plane first, and nothing happens.
So Mike, describe what Mike.
Okay.
So you're checking.
Yeah. What happens is if you have 2 planes tailing the same plane at the same position level, they have to check for a collision, and the fire value for the collision check is equal to the position level. And if you get any kind of a result at all, you check on the 1 gun section, and you check to see if there's any damage. And if there's any damage, the damaged plane also has to give up position. They go back out to here. Now in this case, the first one was a 1, but it was just superficial, and the second one was a 5, which was too high. So neither of these guys took any damage from there was no collision, basically.
Correct. So, but glad to see them there. I hope they stay that way.
Yeah.
All right, so now let me see. So, yeah, my guy. So interesting here. So the Green Pilot, by the way, if you look at the German Albatross, the climb rating is less than the climb rating for the Sopwith. So to try to climb out of this engagement for me, it's probably not a good idea. I'm going to have one off each of the cards I'm playing. So probably not a good day there. And then, as we talked about, as you can see here, because the Albatross has weak wings, if I try to dive, I'm going to have issues there as well. So right now, he's going to stay where he's at.
Now, one other thing too with the Green Pilot, he's being tailed by two different pilots. When he activates, he can only target one of those two. He can't target both of them. So if he manages, let's say he targets the leader and manages to reduce position level, it will not change the position level the other plane has.
Yeah, so, all right, so I'm going to activate my flight leader, and I'm going to target Mike's flight leader. And I'm going to play the steep dive. So let me come back over here to the window so you guys can see that. So that makes me an 8. And Mike's...
Now,
Roger, what's going on?
Now I have a choice at this point. I can either let him play that,
Yes.
or I can
So,
play a
as
card
far
of
as
my
our
own in
game, the Deadly
response.
Woods,
If I
mean-
play a card in response,
my
I have to
understanding
lower
is
my
we're just
position
gonna
level by 1 versus the
start the
plane I'm
game,
tailing.
play the initial
And I
few
think I will
turns,
do that,
you know,
actually.
I figure
I
it'll
will
last a
play
couple
a
hours, depending on what people
Steep
want.
dive in response.
We'll get into it as far as we
So
can,
he's
but
now
basically
8,
just,
and
you know,
I'm now 7.
I would go through
So
the
he
sequence
gets
of play,
position
but
1,
first
and I
you
have to
know,
go down to position
just
3.
talk about, you know, the scope of the
versus
game in the beginning, review the map
the
and the
green
game
pilot.
the game
Which
boxes,
also
you
means
know,
there's
like
no chance of a collision.
the
which is
different
kind of
tracks.
Now,
Talk about the
also just
entry
to say, and I'm
areas,
sorry,
how to
it's
read
probably
counter basic
intuitive
shit.
to most of you
That's
looking
all.
at this, but the response card that Mike plays has to be
That's
the
all.
same type of
That was
card I
my-
play. It doesn't have to be a steep dive, but it has to be a dive card. It has
of
to have
some
the.
kind, yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
Or a metal
Yes,
card,
for sure.
and we saw one earlier in one of the draws. It's a metal card can be used for any maneuver, which is very nice. All right,
Probably want to
so
review
since
the
I'm
shit
still tailing it
descriptions.
with just position 1 here, it's not a great position, but I'm going to try to fire on
Since
Mike,
that's core to the game.
and I miss. Okay, so
Yep.
this guy is
So that,
activated.
so now we each
Mhm.
have one plane left to activate. I am,
Oh yeah, for sure.
at this point, I
It's
am
just
going
tweaking.
to pass.
Uh-huh.
So you can
Mike
either
is-
activate your, yeah, I have passed. So you can activate, your green pilot is the only one you can activate.
Yeah, and so here's the conundrum for those of you who are watching my screen.
Yeah, exactly.
While you're watching the screen. So my green pilot here, he's going to lose 1 off this card. So this card becomes a 0, for instance, the agility.
Yeah, for a game that doesn't even exist yet.
So that would leave me as
I mean,
a
how would
6,
they
just a
know
base
about it
6. Well,
besides
so is Mike.
Us just
So if Mike's got a response card
talking
to
about it
play,
in different forums.
because he's tailing me, he could increase his
Very
position
well,
and then
yeah.
get a shot on me as
Not
well.
bad,
So
really.
I'm going to pass also. And then Mike can either decide he's going to make a play or we end this turn.
I mean, we're up against
I
Mark
am
Herman.
going to end the turn.
All
Because
right,
I
so
don't
am
have
I.
anything good I don't have anything good that my green pilot can play.
Yeah.
So
All right, so let's just
Yeah,
a little housekeeping.
exactly.
Let's
I think that's pretty
activate
good
the planes
considering.
for the next turn. And then we will come over here and move down.
But
to
yeah,
turn-
I mean, this has
oops,
240
to turn
counters,
2.
140 of them are these
And
planes.
now that we're in turn 2, we do
And you
have
can see
a
the
random
leaders are
events
smaller, obviously.
possibility. So this is the random events table, and because
Yeah.
we are in no man's land, we're going to use that column, and we'll draw a card. And Mike, I'm going to put the deck out here so everyone can see. If you'll draw a card, please.
Uh-huh. Okay.
All right, so it's
number
card
19.
19. So card number 19
140 of the others.
in no man's land says that someone is going to get an aircraft.
Probably Probably
but we do not
5/8
have.
is what I would
so
make
look
them
at
if
the
they're
note down
inch.
here. Only if there are currently 7 or more aircraft on the display. So we only have 6. So this is treated as no event.
Okay.
Had it been just a regular add aircraft, we'd draw a second card to see who gets
Okay.
the extra aircraft, and that might be the Germans,
And I don't know
might
how
be
big
the
this plane
Allies,
mat is.
or it could be both of us. And that's how the events work. So,
It doesn't look
that
like a
event is
full.
essentially
Yeah, it's not full.
no
Probably
effect.
22 by 17.
So now, uh, the Allies are still going to have the initiative.
Yeah.
Let me get these markers I had pulled out here. And then Mike will be able to discard.
Yeah.
And I will be able to discard. And then draw back up to our hand size.
I'm going to discard one card, keep
As
the
am I.
other one,
Yep.
and I get to draw 4 more.
All right, so this is terrible. So
If we do paper.
so
One of the cards I drew was the same one I discarded, so that was kind of.
No, I'm just saying.
oh, wait a minute. Actually, would be
The only reason I say that is
be
what
a
is the
4,
expectation
shouldn't
for
I?
a game?
Oh,
like
yeah, I have
this?
to draw one more card. There we go. Okay.
So I should be at 4 cards. Mike should still be at 5.
Okay. Okay.
Given the hand I have,
I
it
was
could be a
thinking
bad
Randy
turn.
because this reminds me a lot of
Mike, you have the first
B-17 style
activation.
game. I know it's different.
I have the
but
first activation.
as far as
and
format.
I'm trying to decide what I want to do here. Okay, I'm going to activate the aircraft tailing the green pilot at position 4.
All right.
And I'm going to play a shallow dive, which is a speed card
Okay.
with a rating of 2, which gives me an 8 at the moment.
All right. So if I play nothing, that'll put him in position 6,
Yeah,
the best possible position. And guys, if you look at my hand,
No,
I only have 1 card that I could play to react to that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because he's a green pilot, that would essentially be a 0. So I'm not going to react, and he will go to position 6. And it's not looking good for the home team.
Yeah.
Okay, he's in position 6.
Down in
And I
plane.
draw a card, and I get a
Yeah.
5, and it's a crew hit.
Yep, even on 1 gun, it's a crew hit.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
stink.
You're playing cards and it's on a map. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so
you
now what we need to do
Mm-hmm.
is draw another card and check the fire value. And it's a 6, so
Yeah.
the green pilot is killed, so the plane is shot down.
Yep.
So what that means is this guy leaves, he's gone. This guy goes back to here. This guy goes to here, and along with the leader, and this guy goes to here.
So in game
And-
terms, Mike's plane that shot him down is now unengaged. And Mike, you
Yeah,
can take
and
your,
I wonder if we need position
take your
Yeah, I'm
position
going
level
to-
up.
See how he's got position 3 on
That's
that
what I'm
unit?
doing right
In
now.
position 1 now?
And I
Yeah.
also have to show that as activated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for shooting down the plane, I've gotten 3 victory points at this point.
Right, and I got a whole lot of nothing. All right, so
Yeah.
we need a little revenge. So
I
you can
know,
take
it
your
looks
position
pretty
level 3
interesting,
off your flight leader as well.
Oh, that's right, because he's
Yeah.
Oh, we need down
So-
in planes markers.
position I'm in.
So next, I'm going to activate my guy tailing the his green pilot.
Yes.
I'm
Exactly.
having trouble.
Exactly.
Let me get the flight leader out of the way, then I can decrease this.
Yeah, Mike, if you double click on your airplane, it should unstick the pilot. It is a little clunky. It's a vassalism. It's something I can talk to Steve
All right,
about to see if maybe he can make those
Okay.
a little less
So
sticky.
anyway, that's how things go right now.
Yeah.
So
All right.
now what that means is that next turn, this guy will be free to engage any of these other German pilots too.
All right, so we're going to activate this guy up top. It's your green pilot.
Okay.
Boy, I do have buckets here, don't I? This is terrible. All right, we're going to play a half loop
Okay,
And,
is that,
and
so that could either be a climb or a dive card.
so we're going to play this as the dive card because the Germans have the advantage there.
Right. And I will not respond because the only dive cards I have are ones, and that wouldn't do any good anyway. Okay, but what the German player has to do first is take his weak wings check.
That is correct.
And yeah, so you have to draw a card. Or do you want me to do it, Dave, or are you gonna do it?
No, I'll draw it. I'm actually,
Okay.
I have charts for everything but that. So if you've got
Okay,
it called up in,
basically,
but
draw a card, check the fire value. If it is one or more less than the value of the card, and the half loop was a 3. So if you draw a 1 or a 2, you check the one gun column, and if there's any result other than superficial, you take a wing hit.
you take a wing hit. Yep. So of course you take a wing hit. So the albatross outfoxes himself and takes a wing hit.
But
Actually,
he does improve his position.
Yeah, hang tight. So let me, instead of doing it that way, let me place the marker on here so everyone can see. So if you see the wing marker now, it shows you right on the marker. I do like this, that now my dive rating and my agility rating for that aircraft are down by 2 and 1 respectively. So it's going to be a bad day in Bedrock here. All right, so that did, though, take my rating to 9. Yours is 5, so it is going to move me to position 5.
5, yeah.
So
And there was nothing I could do about that, so.
So the albatross here in position 5, he's going to fire. And he hits,
1.
but you'll notice
No,
it's superficial.
It's superficial, so nothing happens there.
So not only did he damage his wings, but he just shot holes in your aircraft. So nothing happening good there for the Germans. All right,
Okay.
back over to you.
I'm going to activate my flight leader. And he is going to play a tight turn, which is a value 2 agility maneuver. The two planes have the same agility, so that puts me at +2 right now, depending on what you play as a response.
Yep. Then, so you look in the wonderful hand that I have here, and I got Bupkis.
Okay, so now this is good though in a way for the demonstration purposes. What that means is you're at position 1, but we changed by 2, so now I am tailing you at position 1.
Yep.
So you go here, I go here. Yeah. So I increase my position to 1, and you decrease your position to 0. Now I can fire if I wish. I think I am not going to fire at this point though, because at position 1 there's really not much chance of hitting, and there's always a chance of a gun jam, which would be not a good thing.
Right. Okay. So.
And that's the thing. If you get position on a player, you do not have to fire if you don't wish to. It's completely up to you. But I don't have nearly a good enough shooting solution to take a shot at it. I mean, especially with one gun, the chances of hitting at position 1 are very slim.
Yeah, I'm going to play a vertical roll here, and hope that you're not sitting on a 2 or 3 or 4 card there.
Actually, as it turns out, I have no climb cards, so.
So this will now take us back to even, and that means that we'll both be unengaged. Right, my value will become. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, Mike. My value will be 7. Yeah, to your 6.
Yeah,
so you'll lose 1 position.
And so everybody comes back to here. Whoops. Oh, how they,
We're,
they got,
we're both trying to move them at the same time.
there we go.
There we go.
There we are. Okay.
All right, he is activated. So you have, let me see, do you have any aircraft? Yeah, you've got your green pilot.
Yeah.
It's still,
My green pilot is still there. Unfortunately, I don't have anything really good. Actually, though, let's see. Dive radius. I'm going to play a wingover card, which normally would be pointless because it's a one value card, which means it's a 0. But because of the wing hit, I am now one higher. So that will, and unless you can respond, that will actually cut you back to position 4.
yeah, see, Mike's dive rating is 5 because I have a wing hit. My dive rating is 4, actual.
Yep.
And I got nothing. So
So
this green
it
pilot,
actually managed to get you down to a position 4,
But-
despite the fact that it didn't do anything. Yeah, you're still at position 4, but at least it helped a little. And you can't fire.
what's that?
And I say, and you can't fire for that from that. So
Oh, because I didn't increase position, right?
no, no. The only time you can fire after an opponent's thing is if you were being tailed or you were neutral and you ended up tailing. If
Yeah,
you
that's
were
right.
tailing and you're tailing by more or less, that doesn't give you an opportunity to fire.
So the green pilot is whittling away at my advantage here.
A little
The
bit,
Terran.
yes.
All right. And that'll be the last action of the turn, Mike. Let's go ahead and unactivate our
Yep.
planes. Boy, the albatrosses are not going to have a fun day here, it looks like. All right, so we're coming down to turn 3. Turn 3.
Turn 3, yes.
Yeah, I've got it to center on moves, so as you're making moves, it wants to naturally drag itself back over there. right, so
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So we're going to roll for random events again. Mike, why don't you give us a draw? Oh, there we are, card 18,
18.
which is going to be another
Which is
no
what?
effect.
Yep,
So
another. You had an error. No, actually, yeah. Yep.
Right.
It's
Because we're over no
gonna be
man's
another-
land.
Yeah, and we don't. And now we're down to 5 aircraft, so there's even less chance of another
Don't-
plane showing up.
Don't rev it in.
If a plane does show up, though, then you draw a card and look at the fire value and see which side gets the plane. In some cases, both sides will get a plane.
Correct.
And at the beginning of the engagement, you set up a cup with one of each kind of scout that was available at the time period the engagement is taking place, and you draw out of that to see what kind of a plane you get.
Yep.
So you may
Now-
get something crappy or you may get something really good. And it just
Now
depends.
Yep. Now this turn, because the Germans now have fewer scouts, we have the initiative. So
That's
Mike,
true.
take a look at your hand and see what you'd like to do as far as discard wise.
I am going to discard both of the cards I have
Yeah.
and draw 5.
And I'm drawing 3.
Like it. And you're
I
only
don't
drawing
like it.
3 because your hand size is now down to 3.
Yep. So I have 2 for the scout, 1 for my leader, and Mike is still drawing 3 cards for his scouts and 2 for his leader for 5. So let's see.
That's another thing too. If a plane had joined, that does increase the hand size too and potentially change the initiative.
Yep. All right, Mike, I'm going to start out by activating my leader, my flight leader.
Okay.
He's going to
Okay.
target your flight leader,
Ooh.
and I am going to play a medal.
Wow.
And I think we're going to call that. Let's see, what are we going to call it? We're not going to call that a dive.
I was going to say.
We've had enough of that. We're going to call that an agility activation. So I'm 10.
Okay, and I'm going to play a snap turn in response, which is a 3. So you only get position 1. Yep.
See, Mike has all the good cards here. For the metal card.
I was hoping to use that for something else, but I really had no choice.
I'm sure you were. So as you can see, the metal card's very powerful, right? There's only a few of those in the deck.
4, actually.
Yeah. And so I'm in position 1. Unlike Mike, I'm down a plane. I'm taking a shot. And I will trust my usual terrible die rolling to cough up a 1 here for me. Oh, look at there. And
you got it. And it's a control. It's an engine hit.
It's an engine hit. So this is a good result for the Germans.
Where are the markers so I can throw an engine hit marker?
So if you right click it and go down to place position or hits marker, I'll do it for you in this case, Mike.
Okay, good.
You take an engine hit.
All right, and that hurts because that's -2 speed and -1 on my climb.
And Mike now has all 3 planes to activate.
Okay, well, I'm going to activate this guy and target your leader. And I am going to play a shallow dive, which despite its name is actually a +2 speed maneuver. So that gives me 2 more since the planes have the same speed.
So that makes you an 8.
That gives me an 8. Yes.
I got nothing.
And remember, yeah, well, and if you responded, though, you would go down to 0, which means you'd lose your position on the leader, which is part of why I did that.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Okay. And I will take a shot.
Oh.
And I hit. It's just a structure hit. Though.
So
the first one of those doesn't do anything. But if I get a second structure hit, his defense class goes down to fragile, which makes him easier to hit.
Yeah. So, he's hitting struts or some other, thing that is important to the integrity of the aircraft at that point. And Mike, you're getting way too many good shots here. Go ahead and unactivate yourself. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, let me see.
You have one other plane.
Yeah, I got to pick on your weakling up here if I can. Let's see.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
It can be.
I'm going to pass.
Okay. I am going to play a wing over again because of the fact that even though it becomes a 0, my dive rating is now higher than yours.
This is your green pilot?
Yeah, the green pilot's going to play.
So that makes you a 6 to my 4.
Yep.
Let's see. If I play 1 to go to 5, I have to roll again, don't I?
Yes, you'd have to do another weak wing check. And if you take a second wing hit, you're gone. So.
But the fire attack. Well, so if I play this, so here, I'll just show everyone. So I'm going to play a wing over myself. The fire attack is 1 less than the fire value, which would make it a 0. So that's a safe play.
Right. So now I'm still 1 higher. It's even. So you stay at position 4. So it did nothing.
No. No, your dive rating is 5, becomes 6. Mine is 4, becomes 5.
My dive rating stayed at 5 because I had to subtract
that's because you're
1
green.
from it.
Because you're green. That's right.
If I wasn't green, yeah.
So that gets me back to par.
In retrospect, what I should have done You know, why don't we reset that and do that just for the purposes of the demo? Let's say I'm doing that and I'm instead of playing
Hang on.
it.
Hang on.
Okay,
So we're gonna have to
you're
back
still there.
cards out.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
What I'm going to do is play the wing over, and I'm going to use it to dive to treetop level. Now you can follow the dive, but if you do, then you have to take a wing check. And
Oh,
if you
boy.
don't follow it, then I get away.
Yeah. Well, that's a little diabolical, Mike.
Hey,
So
I've
so
got
if I
a green pilot. I
respond,
don't have a whole lot of options. If you follow my dive to treetop altitude, then you have to take a check with a fire value of 2.
yep. Well, I hate letting the green guy go, but put him down a treetop and I'll move to unengaged.
Okay.
We saw how well that worked for me the first time.
Okay, we'll put him at treetop.
All right.
All right,
And
and you are now unengaged.
yep. So
And you, of course, have no position level. So.
right. All right. So he's going back to the position. Now that kind of takes that guy out of the fight, his green pilot. But
Right.
as you can,
Well, if I get a good enough climb card, I might, I may be able to get, well, I will be able to get back into the fight at some point. It'll probably take a couple of turns, and I'll have to get climb cards to do it. So we'll just see how it works out.
That's
but
right.
At least I saved him.
So you can see here, even though he's got a green pilot, and so he's losing on his maneuver cards, the fact that the Albatross has weak wings, it really is a limiting factor for the aircraft. And then taking the wing hit certainly didn't help. So
yeah, well,
there we
especially if
go.
you didn't have the wing hit, you probably could have followed. But since a second wing hit will destroy your aircraft, it probably wouldn't be a good idea.
All right, so you have 2 activated aircraft. I have 1. Let's see, what do I have left in my hand? Everyone can see my hand is garbage. I'm going to pass again.
All right. I am going to play.
Hey guys, a question here.
Yes.
Sure.
If both players pass, is that turnover?
No, you have to have 3 passes, 3 in a row. So I'd have to pass, then he passes, then I pass again, and that would end the turn.
Okay, one more question. The position markers that show up in Vassal as writing on the little boxes, are those actual counters in the
Yes.
physical game?
Yes,
They are. So even here in hang on, let me see. Even here in I could do that.
Yeah.
In Vassal, it's just they're a little more clunky. But good question.
Oh, thank you. That's it.
And you're the boss, so we either have counters for that or we don't.
All right. Well, I'm going to activate the only plane I have left, which is my flight leader. And I'm going to play a side slip, which is a 1 maneuver that can either be agility or speed. And obviously I'll play it as an agility maneuver since my speed is shot with the engine hit. So that's a 1. So I'm at 7 for agility right now.
All right, and I'm at 6.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, look at that! I can't do anything. All right, so that brings us back to even, and that means that we're both back to unengaged.
No, I am back to unengaged. You are still being tailed by my other aircraft.
Yes.
What happens is this goes here,
Yep.
you go here, I go here.
All right.
Yeah.
Look at that. You've got all the weaklings sitting here at low altitude.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, I need to
Activate him. Yeah.
activate him.
All right. So
You still have your guy with the wing hit, could still be activated.
yeah. So right now your climb rating is 5.
Right.
And mine is still 5. All right, so I know I can get behind Mike because he can't respond. No, maybe he can't respond. He still has cards.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm gonna
still have a
play that.
card left.
So I'm gonna play that to go to 6 over your 5.
Okay, so you're activating. You're against my. What are you playing?
Your flight leader. I'm playing the steep
playing-
climb here.
Okay, which is a. Okay, I should probably get back here and see what you're playing. Okay, it's a 1. So
That makes me a
Yeah,
6 to your 5.
yep, and I have nothing I can play. So we go back to a. I am now being oops, they all should have gone, but
Now I'll grab my guy here.
okay. Yeah, I'm just moving mine here to.
Where did you put him? Up top in dogfight?
Yeah, dogfight 1. So you're at position level 1.
All right, we're taking a shot because that's what we do.
Yep.
We got lots of ammo. We're going to use it.
Guns jammed.
Well, what did I just say about having lots of ammo? No. Okay, so my guns are jammed. So on the next turn, I can't fire. Even if I retain position, I'm going to have to make what's called an untargeted activation.
And in
attempt
fact, you will have to
unjam.
give up. You'll have to give up position to do so in order to
Yes.
make the attempt. So that we'll go back to neutral. Yeah.
Oh, this
Okay.
is boy. So you're seeing
And
you're seeing a lot of how not to play the game here, which is great. All right, the 6 is down to turn 4.
It is good though because we're getting an awful lot of different kinds of things here. So that's nice.
Yeah, and we're
Okay.
doing a lot of kibitzing here because normally we would be playing this much faster.
Yeah.
But it's good to have the conversation. So,
Okay,
Mike, why don't you
so
tell
that's-
us the random event?
Okay.
It's 102.
That will be
Okay.
nothing.
That is also, wow, you haven't been a very good adventurer. I'll say that.
That would be an event if we were playing a campaign. There's a section at the very top for what they call campaign events, and that one of those would occur if we've been playing this as part of the campaign.
So, as a matter of fact, I've called that up. So then, if we were playing a campaign, we would then roll on this event table, and we would see what happens. Right? To be, is there a lull in the action? Is there fuel shortage?
Yeah. In fact, let's say for the sake of argument, we're playing a normal activity campaign.
Mike, I have Cambrai up.
Okay, Cambrai will work too.
It's in the window.
Yeah.
If you want to look at it.
Yeah, actually, I have the thing right here. So, and then what would happen for the campaign events is we would draw another card, and
Is that a 54?
actually, for the special event, you look at the fire value would be a 4, and it would be an out of the sun event. And what that means is that
sorry, down here. Yep.
Yeah. What that means is, and let me find the exact wording of that. During the upcoming turn, any one unengaged aircraft can make a targeted activation without the target being able to respond. And whether it's the German or Allies that get to do it depends on whether it's in the morning or the afternoon, since it depends on where the sun is. If it's in the morning, the Germans get to come out of the sun. If it's in the afternoon, the Allies do. So, in any case, that's what would happen if we were playing this as a campaign. But anyway, let's go on to discard. I'm going to hang on to the one card I have, and I'm going to draw 4 more. And why did I bother to hang on to it, since I got 2 more just like it?
All right, so I am, by the way, unactivate your aircraft. Let me take a look at my hand. Yeah. I'm going to get rid of this guy. So I'm going to have 3 cards, and you will continue. Darn you to have 5. All right. Oh, man. Just when I needed to have a decent card, and I don't. Or rather.
Okay. And you still have the initiative, since you have fewer scouts on the board.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not doing me any good. Let me tell you. I'm gonna pass.
You're gonna pass. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass, Mike. I don't want to pass, but I'm going to pass.
All right. I'm going to play a tight turn. I'm going to activate this guy against your leader and play a tight turn, which is a 2 agility card.
All right, that makes you an 8. You talking about the guy? You're talking about your flight leader, or you're talking about who?
No, the guy tailing your flight leader.
Okay.
So he's an 8 right now against your 6.
Yeah, I will respond to that and make it a 7. So Mike will go up to position 3 down here in this combat, in this dogfight. Darn
And
him.
I will of course take a shot and get a 4.
Ah,
You
you
are
missed.
extremely lucky you had a card because it would have been a crew hit.
Yep.
And either the guy would have been wounded or killed. So, yeah.
All right, activate that puppy.
Yep. And he's activated. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, you're going to try and clear your gun jam?
Not yet. I'm gonna pass again.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, this guy here,
There is some method to my madness.
I can't wait to hear it. I'm going to activate my green pilot with an Immelman, which can either be a speed or a climb maneuver. And so his climb rating is 6, which means he has a sustained climb rating of 2.
2.
Plus the rating of the card, which is 2, that's 4.
Well, is
Plus
1 for him.
Is 1, yeah, that's right. It's 3, plus 3 because he's a treetop level going to low. So he's able to climb to low altitude immediately.
So Mike, why don't you actually walk some folks what you just did there, right? We're talking
Okay.
a lot, but not.
When you climb from one altitude level to another, you take what they call the sustained climb rate, which is the climb rating divided by 3, rounded to the nearest whole number, basically. Although there's a little chart in the rules that tells you for a climb rating of this is what you got. So he's a 6, so that becomes a 2. The card was a 2, reduced to a 1, unfortunately, because he is a green pilot. That's 3. And normally that would be it. So you would have a climb progress of 3, and I'd have to climb again the next time. But when you climb from treetop to low altitude, you get to add an additional 3 because World War I aircraft had their maximum power at ground level.
Hey Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's 2. 11.42 it's 2.
2. Okay, so he's actually at 5 then. So he has not actually gone there.
But we can show climb progress on there.
Yeah. What we need is one of the markers, the position markers, a 5 one. If you can grab one of those and put it on there. Yeah, because once you get to 6.
Maybe Steven has that in the menu here. No, he does not.
Okay, because you did grab a position marker when you were showing Roger what they look like.
Oh, you just want a position marker on it.
Yeah, when they're neutral, you just put a position marker on it to show climb progress. If he was in a dogfight, you could use the climb progress track.
Okay, you just do that.
Yeah, just make it a 5. Okay, and that means next turn, if I get another climb card, I will be able to do that. I will be able to finish my climb and get the guy back to low altitude.
This is a mighty plucky green pilot.
Yes, he is.
Say that.
Yeah, he is. He's tough. Okay, so
right.
Now it's your turn.
Yep, and you have 1 aircraft left to activate. I have 2. I am going to pass again.
Really?
I am.
Okay,
you can't make me not pass. You're gonna pass?
I'm gonna pass. Yep.
All right. Well, in that case, then. So, guys, I'm gonna play I'm going to attempt to unjam my guns. To do that, you have to make what's called an untargeted activation. What's an untargeted activation? Well, I'm not going to target an aircraft. And you can play any card to do that. So I'm going to play this steep climb card. Now, what that'll do is it will break contact with his leader. So he's going to drop back to positions.
Yeah, as do you.
Yep. So here I go, back down to low. And then I'm going to make a roll, and anything over a 1, the gun's unjam.
Yeah, if you get a 1 for the fire value, the gun stays jammed. If you get a 6, it's broke, or you get a gun jam, it's broken. If you get anything else, it's unjammed.
And of course,
you got a 1.
So you are seeing my stellar fortune in action here. So he stays jammed.
He's been activated.
Right.
Now what I'm going to do is activate my leader. And he is going to play a full throttle card, which is a speed card 1. Normally with the engine hit, that would do no good at all, but I'm going to do that to make what they call a head-on attack. You can play any speed card. Both players fire with a fire value of 4, but since his guns are jammed, he can't shoot. So I'm the only one who gets to fire.
So this is another neat mechanic, right? When you are
I jam my guns.
So when you are at when you're at the same altitude, you can play, as Mike just said, you can play a speed card and attempt to make a head-on attack. And essentially,
and you notice I got a gun jam, so.
Yeah, let me put there you go, Mike. I got you.
Yeah, there we go. Yep.
All right.
And
so,
I need wait a minute. I need to show this guy's being activated.
Yep.
Okay, and then the only plane left to be activated is the German leader with the structure.
That is correct. So we are going to play a speed maneuver barrel roll, and that will take me to 9.
Okay, and I'm going to respond with a full throttle, which will take me to 7. So
right,
I go
so
down to position
lose.
level 1, 2 positions.
Yep. Golly.
And that's the end of turn 4.
Yep, let's go ahead and unactivate everyone.
Yeah.
All right, so we're at the top of turn 5, and we're going to pull the chart back up. Mike is going to draw an event that will actually be an event this time. I can feel it.
Card 38.
All right. Oh, it's a remove aircraft. So draw a second card, Mike.
All right. And see who goes away.
Oh, it's the Allied aircraft.
6.
And it must be the green pilot.
Yep. And it must be the green pilot. So he is now out of the game.
So back to initiative now. What this means is Mike will get the initiative back.
Right.
And I'm going to be at 3 cards, and he is going to be at 4 cards.
4 cards. And I'm going to keep the 1 card I have, and I'm going to draw 3 more.
All right.
Hey guys.
Yes.
Yeah. When a plane is removed like that, it's removed regardless of the situation, right? No matter if it was being tailed horribly and about to be shot down, right?
No, the plane has to be unengaged.
Yes, good point. Good point.
The plane has to be unengaged, and if you have a choice of unengaged aircraft, it has to be a green pilot if you have any of those.
And so because they're unengaged in the vagaries of the fog of war, that pilot might have seen, someone else he could go off and tail outside the scope of this engagement. He might have said, "Oh, I'm low on fuel, got to head for home," but he's out of the engagement at that point.
Yeah, basically it's the kind of thing that happened a lot during World War I. There are any number of pilot memoirs where they talk about how 1 second they're in the middle of this huge swirling dogfight, and the next second they're all alone. And without radios, there's no way to find anybody again, so they just had to go home.
All right, we're hoping more Allied aircraft go home by flaming down to death here. So over to you, sir, with the initiative.
That's right, it's my turn. So I am going to. All right. I'm going to activate the guy tailing your leader,
Okay.
and I'm going to play a vertical roll, which is a level 2 climb card. So that gives me 8 against your 5.
8 against my. Yeah, I gotta play it. I will play a response card, and
Okay.
that'll keep us essentially where we're at.
So we stay at position level 1.
Yep.
So try to shoot, but I don't get anything. I would have gotten something if you hadn't had the response card. Yeah.
Yep. There we
So-
go. All right.
And he's activated.
All right. Oops. Yeah, I'm gonna have to burn a card and try to unjam my guns.
Yeah.
So, something better than I won this time, huh? Oh,
Gun jam.
okay. My guns are broken.
Your guns are, yep, and so you cannot use them for the rest of the scenario now. Which means
So,
you probably want to get the heck out of Dodge next turn.
Yeah, well, if I can. So,
Yeah,
oh, that is terrible. This is just terrible.
that really was terrible luck.
All right, Mike, over to you.
All right.
I assume
Well,
you're
I'm
going to do
going
the
to
same.
I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to discard a level 1 maneuver card, and I managed to unjam my guns. Thank
Yep.
goodness.
So anything over a 1 unjams the guns, and you are activated.
And now I have to activate it, and that leaves your wing leader.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, man, I got to do something here. I'm going to get ganged up on it. So we're going to take a chance. Combat is all about chance. So we're going to play power dive. Let's see if you can respond to that first.
Okay, that's a
That
level
makes me
3. I can respond with a steep dive, but that still won't do me any good because you'd still be 2 higher than me. Well, no, I will respond with a steep dive, which is a level 2 dive card. So you
That makes
are
me-
at
9.
that makes me an 8. No,
Makes you
7.
at 7. So we'll
Yeah,
swap.
and you're, yeah,
Let me
swap that
roll.
one.
Let me roll
Yeah,
for
but
the
you
weak
actually-
wing first.
You have to check your weak wing check,
Right.
and that'll be a 1 or a 2.
Yeah, so it's 1 less than the value of the card played. So anything over
Right.
2 and the wings stay on the aircraft. All right, they stay on the aircraft. All right, so
So
let me
now
move
we
my
have
guy back
switched.
here.
We have switched positions. You are at level 1. And let me decrease my position.
Yep, and I'm
you can
firing.
shoot if you want.
Oh, I'm shooting. All right, that's a miss.
Yeah, clean miss.
All right,
You're in
that's
a way
the
better position to get that. And that's the end of the turn.
yep.
So
So
now we go on to turn 6.
yeah, let's go ahead and unactivate your aircraft.
Yep.
All right, let's pull the chart back out and get the draw deck up here. All right, Mike, get us another Allied aircraft removed here.
67.
No, that is no event.
Yep.
All right.
So I can draw 3 more cards. I think I'll keep the card I have, so I'm going to draw 3 more. Could have been better. All right. And you get, I assume you've drawn your cards.
Yep.
Okay. Now, okay, I am going to activate the guy who's being tailed by your leader.
Okay.
And I am going to, no, I'm not. I'm going to activate my leader. I'm going to activate my leader first. I'm going to play a side slip as a speed maneuver and do another head-on attack.
Another head-on attack. Ah, you rat.
And this time I did hit, but it's just a structure hit.
Yeah, the structure hit to this guy. So everyone sees that, right? So he's so his fire value. What was your fire? His fire value was 4. So less than 4, a 1 hits. You're looking on the normal table under a 1 gun, and that's a structure hit. So let me add a structure hit.
Yeah.
All right, so that guy's activated.
So now it's your turn.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to have to. So that guy can't do anything. He's got to get out of the combat.
Yep, you want to escape with him. Because if I keep
Well,
drawing speed cards, I'm going to keep doing those head-on attacks.
So here's the thing. So as you're playing an engagement, if you're unengaged, you can attempt to escape. You can actually attempt to escape if you're engaged. And I would play a card. Yep, I would play a card. He would get a chance to react to that. And if he, met or exceeded my value, that he would go to a dogfight. And so there is a card. So, Mike, I'm going to play this because this guy's going to die probably anyways. But we'll summon the death.
Okay.
I'm going to play a falling leaf.
Ooh.
So a falling leaf allows me to disengage from him because you can't follow a falling leaf card.
Yeah. And he's not engaged anyway, but it also means an automatic escape. But it means you go to treetop altitude.
That's right.
First of all. Then you make a weak wings check.
Yep. So let me walk through it. So when it's a falling leaf, you make the weak wings check after each altitude level change. So if we were at medium level, we'll talk about that in a second. There's a chance this guy's going to dive right into the ground, and given my luck thus far, that's probably what's going to happen. So we're going to make a roll here, to draw a card, and if it's a fire value 2 or less, then you're going to take a wing hit.
It may take a wing hit, yeah, depending on how the chart is. It is a 1, but it's superficial damage, so he does not take it.
So he does not. Now, because we're drawn separate for the falling leaf, correct? What?
Yeah, now you draw another card and see if it's a dive card.
So here's the thing when you play a falling leaf. The next card I draw, if it's a dive card, that means that the plane keeps diving. And if you're at treetop level, well, that means that you're going to say hello to the trenches in no man's land. So he rams himself right into the ground.
Wow.
So he is dead.
He's dead.
He's dead. He didn't. So he's considered shot down for game purposes, for VP purposes.
Yes.
German player, your draws have been generally terrible.
They have been. Well, this would be most of my gaming life. So they are kind of par for the course here.
They really have been.
Yes, they have been. All right, so Mike, you have 1 point left to activate, and I think I'm sensing victory here still. So you just keep going.
I am going to activate this plane. I'm going to play an Immelman, as it can either be a climb or speed card. I'm playing it as a climb card, so I'm at 8 against your 5.
Yep, I can't match that. So
we switch positions, and I'm at position level 2 then.
Yep. And you're going to shoot? Yes? No? No,
Yeah.
You don't want to shoot.
I do, but I didn't get anything. I needed a 4.
But you missed.
That would have been an engine hit. That would have been nice. And that's the end of turn 6.
No. I still have.
Oh, no, you still got to activate.
That's
Yeah, you
right,
have-
mister.
You still have
I
a plane to
still-
activate.
I still
Yeah.
have a plane to activate. Unfortunately, you probably still have cards.
Yes, I do.
Dad blasted. All right, I'm not
Hey,
gonna
guys.
try it. Yeah,
Are the different maneuvers, the speed, dive, etc., in the deck in equal proportions, the types of maneuver cards?
Hmm. That's an
no,
excellent
they are.
question, That's an excellent question, Roger. And since I put this deck together about 15 years ago, I have no idea. They should be approximately equal. Um, but the distribution of ones and twos and threes isn't necessarily equal. Um, but I believe, yeah, I think I made them pretty much the same numbers of each. Now, of course, that's also modified by the fact that there are a number of cards that have more than one maneuver rating on them. You know, the one I just played could either be a speed or a climb maneuver. And there are a couple of other cards like that as well.
Yeah. So, Roger, I've got some numbers someplace. Early on, I put them together. It's not an even distribution, but for the most part, it's not grossly different.
Yeah, I was obviously just thinking that if you had a plane that had, say, good dive or good speed, let's say that speed were half the numbers of, say, agility in the deck, that would make me evaluate a plane differently and fight the plane differently. So it's a combination of the ratings versus the probability in the deck.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, no, they are approximately equal. And once you get in the cards, it can be either way. Plus, in addition to that, there are two cards that are of a single type but can also respond to a different type. There's a snap turn card, which is an agility card, but if you play it in response, you can either respond to an agility maneuver or to a speed maneuver. And then there's a speed card that's the same way. It can respond to an agility maneuver as well as to responding to a speed maneuver. Now, when you play the snap turn, you have to play it as an agility thing, but in response, you can respond to speed or agility. And that can be a real nasty surprise to somebody flying like a SPAD 13, which has a really good speed rating, if you're flying something like a Fokker DR1, which has a really, really good agility rating.
Roger, does that get you what you need there?
Yep, I got it. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Awesome.
Sure.
All right. I am not taking a chance with the poopy cards I have left, Mike. So I am going to pass, and that will end the turn. And that'll
Okay,
take us
so
down
now
to turn 7.
So let's no longer activate,
And I'm going to discard some cards and draw some.
now
cards.
one thing about hand size, since we're getting down to fewer aircraft now, no matter how few scouts you have, you always have a minimum hand size of 2. So even if the only guy left did not have a flight leader, so there'd just be one scout with no flight leader attached, you would still get 2 cards and be able to discard 1. There are minimums for both of those things. All right,
I'm getting
discard.
2 here because I have 1 card and the leader with a value of 1.
Yeah, and I'm going to discard 1, and I'm going to draw 3 more cards.
Could you review again what determines how many cards you get to draw and how many you have to keep?
Sure. The number the hand size on any given turn is the total number of your scouts on the display, which in my case is 2, plus either the flight rate, the leadership or flying rating of the leader. Now, the way you choose which one you use at the beginning of the engagement, you add up your scouts. If the flight leader is all by himself, he has to use his flight rating. If there's 3 or more scouts, he has to use leadership. If it's just him and one other scout, he can use either one. So in my case, my hand size is 4 right now because my leader has a leadership rating of 2 and I have 2 scouts. And then 2 is my discard. So I could discard up to 2 cards if I had that many left. I chose to discard 1 and then draw 3 more to get me to my hand size of 4. And Dave's hand size right now is 2, which is the
Is
minimum,
2.
and his discard is 1. So he's in bad shape. But he does get to go first because he has fewer scouts now.
Sorry, what determines how many you can discard?
The rating of your flight leader. And if you have no flight leader, if he's been shot down, you still get to discard 1. So in Dave's case, since his flight leader has a leadership rating 1, it's 1 either way. In my case, my guy is 2, but if he'd been shot down, then I'd only be able to discard 1 card each turn.
You know what, Mike? I've been discarding 2. I just realized that, but that's okay. It certainly hasn't benefited me in the card draws.
Not particularly, no.
Which you will see again in a moment.
So anyway, you get to go first.
Well, now first it's a random event.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yep.
Let's see if we get anything. Card 50. That
So
might
that
actually be some.
That is clouds. So it draws
Yes,
a
it is.
second card. Second card.
Okay, you drew the second card. It's 2. So we have the cloud marker at low altitude. So,
Mike, I did not draw a card, sir.
okay, here we go. It's a 1. So the clouds are at low altitude, which is where the thing is going. So the cloud marker would go there. That makes it easier for pilots to escape.
Let's see if I have.
Do we have the cloud marker someplace, Dave?
We do. I am pulling that puppy down as we speak.
There we go.
No, doesn't help me because I'm engaged.
Well, you can still try to escape.
Not with the hand I have.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Just so everybody knows, if you're trying to escape and you're engaged, what you have to do is play a card, the other guy responds, and if you can get the position to either be neutral or so that you'd be tailing, then you escape. And the card you play to escape has to be either a speed, a climb, or a dive. An agility card will not allow you to escape. But with the clouds, it does make it easier to do so. So,
But that's only if I'm unengaged, yes?
No, you add +2 to any escape total by playing at that altitude.
All right, well, we're going for it.
Yeah, I would.
Well, so the only way I can go for it is by playing a wing over, so we're still maybe going to rip the wings off the aircraft.
Okay. Now, my options at this point are I can either respond or I can just let him escape. And at this point, I've got the engagement 1 because I've shot down 2 planes and he shot down none of mine. So if I let him go, the engagement's over, I win. But for purposes of this, I will play a response. So you're playing a wing over, which has a rating of 1. I am going to respond with a metal maneuver, which has a rating of 4. So my dive rating is
9.
basically 9, yeah. So you do not escape.
Nope.
Because your dive rating is 6 + 1 is 7, + 2 is 9, so there's no position change. It stays at 2.
Yep.
All right. So now I am going to activate the plane who's behind, and I'm going to play a shallow dive card, which is a speed maneuver rating of 2. So that gives me an 8.
And I cannot do
Yes.
anything about that. That's going to move you up to a position 4. You'll gain 2. You'll be 8 to 6. Yeah.
Yep. So I will fire, obviously, and
Hey, guys.
I will put a
Yeah.
second structure hit on.
Roger.
Yeah.
Dave, did you have to take a wing hit for the wing check for the wing over?
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
because-
So, yeah. I'm sorry, Mike.
No,
Yeah,
you did
so
not.
you're-
The wing over is only a 1, Dave.
Well, no. That's what I was going to explain. So when you
Oh,
when
okay.
you check for the wing hit, the value of what you're essentially drawing against is 1 less than the value of the maneuver. So the maneuver was 1. one less is zero, and we don't have any zero cards. So I skipped completely over that because all I have is crappy cards. At least I didn't have to worry about ripping the wing off.
Yeah. All right.
Now, if
so
I had
put
a-
a set. Yeah,
I'm
and
sorry,
I put
Mike,
a
if I-
second structure. I put a second structure hit on you with the fire.
Right. Now, if I had played a 2 or a 3 or a 4 value card, then I would have been rolling against a 1 or a 2 or a 3 appropriately. And yes, Mike just gives me another structure here. So now my defense class is 1 less. It's fragile. So the Germans have all kind of bad things happening here.
Yeah.
And I have nothing else I can play, so
Okay.
Mike can
So now
attempt.
Yeah, I'm going to use my flight leader. And luckily I have a tight turn card, which is an agility 2, so my engine hit doesn't affect that. So my modified agility is currently 8.
Yep, and I cannot respond to that. So you're going to be +2 in position 2.
So there's no collision chance. And I will draw a card and miss because it's a 5.
Yep, mark yourself at position 2 there.
Yeah. Oh,
All right, that's it for the turn.
let me double click here. Increase position. Increase
That'll
position.
bring us down to
And
So that'll bring us down to
longer.
turn 8.
The last turn of the engagement, yes.
Yep. So Mike, if you want to give us another stellar draw here for
Card 40. That
that is
is
going to give us a
remove aircraft, but since everybody's in a dogfight, that's a no event.
yep.
If they weren't, my leader would have gone. So it's really good that I played that card to put the leader in the dogfight, because he would have left, and then we'd have both had 2 cards for this last turn.
That's right. So I'm going to discard the one I can and draw 2 cards.
And I'm going to discard the one I have, and I'm going to draw 4. Nothing much. All right, and you get to go first, since you have the initiative.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to attempt to escape, and I'm going to target your flight leader and play a zoom
Let me-
climb.
Actually, you cannot escape because you're being tailed by 2 aircraft, unless you
By
had
2?
a falling leaf, which is the only card that can target both of the tailing planes. No, you can't, which is
Nope,
the
no
other
falling
reason
leaf.
why. Yeah.
That's okay. We're just going to target you then. We're
Okay,
just
who
going
are
to
you targeting?
your flight leader.
Okay. And what card
So
are you
he's
playing?
I've got a zoom climb out here for 3. Can you see it, Mike?
Oh, okay. I'm in Vassal, so okay, it's a 3. Okay, so that gives you a +4, right? No, actually, that gives you 8 against 5.
Right.
And I'm going to play a steep climb in response. So that's 8 against 6. So basically, you escaped me. So I go back to here.
Yep. And then I'm active. However, you're still tailing me at a 4 here, and you've got 2 activations left.
That's right. So I don't have any really good cards, though. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm activating the guide position level 4. I'm going to play a shallow dive card, speed card of 2. So that gives me 8.
Well, I would love to play the card that I have. It's a 2, but it's a tight turn, so I cannot. So that will increase your position level to 6.
And
So
then
Mike is now in the best firing position.
And I got nothing, though.
Oh, it's a
Nothing but
superficial hit.
damage.
All
Yep.
right, look at that.
Now,
Now,
if I had 2 guns,
if you had 2 guns, you would have
it
got a
would have been a
structure.
third, because you're fragile now, and that would have shot you down.
That's
Yeah.
right. So again, as a reminder to everyone, I have 2 structure hits, so my defense class is now fragile. And it's the same way my ego is feeling at this point. So there you go. I'm kidding.
Okay, the plane's activated.
Right.
And then I have one more activation.
That's right. You got one more shot at knocking this guy down.
And I'm going to play a turn card, which is an agility card, which gives me 7 for agility against your 6.
Look at that. Well, I'm going to play 2 to make me an 8.
Oh, so you actually get a shot at position level 1.
That's right. We could flame you down here on the last card play.
You could.
All right, so here comes the draw. Let's see what happens.
It's a
No,
4.
no, but it would have been a wing hit had it hit.
Had it hit, it would have been a wing hit, which still wouldn't have shot me down, but it would have. So basically, at the end of the scenario, you have 2 victory points. Actually, no, you didn't do anything to this guy, did you? No.
No.
You had 2 victory points for the damage you did to the wing leader, and I have 8 victory points for shooting down 2 planes and the damage I did to your flight leader.
Now you don't have 2 hits though.
No, but damaging an enemy aircraft is worth 2 points. Damaging a scout is worth two victory points. And your flight leader has taken the 2 structure hits, so he's damaged. But my flight leader is damaged as well, so you got 2 victory points for that.
Correct.
And-
Yes.
And the green pilot who escaped is nothing. He was worth no victory points to either side. So
No, but as a green pilot, escaping is kind of a moral victory, right?
yes, yeah. I mean, the fact that he got out of being tailed was a major victory all by itself.
Mike, in the rules, I'm sorry, that's what I was trying to pull up. In 16.21, it says each enemy scout with 2 or more points of damage is 2 VPs.
Oh, okay. So I'm
So
sorry.
you would get the 2 VPs because I have 2 structure hits. That's legit.
Yeah, so it's 8 to 0 then. That's right, because none of my planes took more than 1 hit.
That is
In fact, the
correct.
flight leader's the only one who took a hit at all. Yeah.
That's right. So guys, so that is an engagement. Obviously, this took far longer than it would if we were playing this just the 2 of us because we're talking through this. But the game, and I hope you're seeing this, it flows fairly easy. It's not really. It's difficult to figure out the tactics, right? Mike played some great tactics, with the head-on attacks, with the dive against the planes here that I'm flying with weak wings. And those little special characteristics can make a big difference when you're
Yeah,
actually in a dogfight.
Normally, a Sopwith triplane would not play a dive because he's got a dive rating of 1 less, unless he's got a really good dive card. But because of the weak wings, I could afford to try to change altitude levels and hope that he either wouldn't follow or would take the wing hit based on the altitude change.
Yeah.
So I took advantage of the special characteristics of his aircraft.
That's right, and Mike also, because I got greedy early and played dive cards. Of course, that was a lot of what I had in my hand. So you're still trying to play. It's like any other card-driven game. You're trying to play what you've got in your hand, and you hope it works out. Even though he had a green pilot and his maneuver cards were less value because of that, he was still able to successfully use tactics to escape the dogfight. Whereas the Germans were just getting whammed on here. Anybody got any questions for us?
Yeah, I've actually got 2 or 3 quick ones if you have a minute.
Sure.
We have all the minutes you want. Absolutely.
Okay, so just about what you were talking about, the dive cards, and if you're flying airplanes that are structurally, not as solid like those Albatross, is there some other way in the game where you can get rid of a card where you don't have to necessarily play it as a dive and risk the damage, or how would you do that?
There are a
that's
couple
a
of
great-
things you can. There are a couple of things you can do. First of all, as you saw, when he makes an untargeted activation, you have to get rid of a card, and that's a good way to dump one of those. In addition, though, you can activate a plane and do nothing, in which case you get rid of a card. So those are the 2 ways to unload a card. Plus, of course, the discard at the beginning of each turn.
So you can activate a plane, use a card, but just do nothing. That's an option.
Yep, it is. It's not an option often taken, but if you've got a card you absolutely positively want to get rid of, that's a way to do it.
Okay, great. Second question. I think I might have stepped away from the computer a little bit early on in the explanation, but could you just go over the concept of the position number again? And I think I understand that it's just like a relative advantage number. And
Yeah.
when you're on even footing, it's 0, but anything more than 0, you're in an advantageous position.
You got that.
Yeah. You can have a position level anywhere from 1 to 6. And you get it by playing cards and comparing ratings plus cards. If you start out neutral, you play a card, and if your card plus rating is higher than the other guy's, the guy you played it against, then you move to a dogfight and you've got a position level equal to the difference between them. Once you're in a dogfight, when cards played, they adjust the number by the difference between them, either up or down. And as you saw in one case, it's even possible, like at one point, I think I had position 1 on him. He played a good enough card that we actually flipped, and he had position 1 on me, in which case he got to shoot.
Yeah, I think that happened right towards the end there where he had the higher card with the tight turn.
Yeah, well, the very last thing that he did, he managed to flip positions on my flight leader, get to position 1, and hope to God that he got a hit, at least put a second hit on me of some kind, which would have enabled him to get a couple of victory points. Or if he'd gotten really lucky, maybe shot the plane down.
And then the second thing the position level does is it sets your fire value, right? So when you're in position 1, you have a far less chance of scoring a hit, because when you draw come over here to the draw deck, and you draw a card, and oh God, of course it's 1. Of course it's 1. Where did I need that earlier? But yes, the position level not only shows you relative.
See, if he had drawn that one for that last shot, he would have put a wing hit on me, which meant that would have been 2. He would have scored 2 victory points, because that would have been a second damage point. Yeah, basically, if you're at position 1, only a 1 card is even going to give you a chance to hit. If you're at position 6, anything but a gun jam gives you a chance to hit.
I think I understand all that. So anything greater than a position 0 always puts you in that box behind the person. Okay.
And as you can see, you can have up to 4 planes in a dogfight. So if he had had another plane still, he could have moved him into that last box behind my guy. And so we
right into there.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think that clears that up a lot more for me. What's the general development timeline on the game right now?
Well, Roger's been talking about putting it out towards the end of this year. I mean, the game's in pretty good shape. It needs some testing, but you can see a lot of graphics have been done. The rules have all been written. The charts and tables are all done. So unless something horrendous comes up during playtesting, I'm thinking late this year or very early next.
Yeah, you got that right. That's what we're expecting also. This is Richard from Revolution Games.
Oh, fantastic. So Richard, does Revolution generally have a policy where they'll put out like a draft rules as it gets closer to release date?
We haven't done that just because that's usually one of the last things we're working on as far as formatting, making sure it reads better. Generally we don't, but we do make it available pretty quickly after release.
Okay, that sounds good. I kind of always like to see the rules to something before I commit to buying it.
No, understood.
Thanks for answering all my questions.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah,
Is anybody else?
questions real quick. Yeah. How do you play a mission aircraft?
Okay, mission aircraft. Okay, mission aircraft go on the display, but the kicker is they do not count towards hand size. So any cards you use to activate or respond with a mission aircraft is one less card your scouts have to deal with. The only exception to that is occasionally the Germans will get some of their ground attack aircraft available, and they do count as scouts, so they do add to the hand size. But something like a Halberstadt, well, actually the CL3 does. Yeah, but something like let's say you have a bombing mission, and if you're the allied player, you have like 3 DH4s. Okay, they're on there physically, and you can play cards to activate them, but they do not count towards the hand size. So you really got to be careful about playing cards for those things. Similarly, if you have like a photo recon plane, if you have a photo recon plane, a leader with a leadership rating of 2 and 3 aircraft, you still only get a hand of 5. So if you want to activate that Brajot 14, or if you want to respond to an enemy activation, you're going to have to use one of those 5 cards.
So,
Okay.
so let me just kind of riff on that for a second. So, if you're flying a photo recon mission or a trench strafing mission or party spotting mission, this mission aircraft, right? This guy here, for instance, in order for him to actually do the action, artillery spotting or photo recon, etc., he has to be unengaged, and he has to be able to, and then he has to make an untargeted activation. So he's got to play a card to drop bombs. In this case, he's got 3 bombs, or take pictures or whatnot. So as long as he's engaged in a dogfight, even if he's at the right altitude level, and it'll tell you what that is in the rules, he can't, do artillery spotting because he's busy trying to not get shot down. But once he's unengaged, every turn he makes an untargeted activation, you get GPs for making that untargeted activation.
Yeah. Now, what happens in a bombing mission is at the end of the engagement, all the bombers that are still around drop their bombs, and you get 1 victory point per bomb symbol on each of the remaining bombers. So if you had 3 Brajots, you could conceivably score 9 victory points if you can get all 3 of them through to the end of the engagement. Another thing that, yeah, you don't have any actual bombing rules. I didn't see any point to it, especially since bombing in World War I was so incredibly inaccurate.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's abstracted. That's the word I was going to use.
Yeah, it's extremely
Correct.
abstracted.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
The point is,
Now,
you got the bomb there, you get the victory point. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I mean, the player's point of view is you're the guy commanding the scouts who are escorting the bombers. As long as you get them to the target, you've done your job. So it doesn't really matter to you how well the bombs hit whatever they're trying to hit. In addition, though, you'll notice that a lot of the 2-seaters have a rear gunner, which means that even if you don't activate them, if somebody gets behind them, they get to shoot back. So even if you don't waste a card on like a response, you can still fire at the people who are firing at you. And depending on how the card draws work, you may end up doing more damage than the guy tailing you.
Okay. Another question, is the altitude bands equally decremented? Incremented? So there's like 5 or 6 in each one? Other World War I games often use 1 or 2 for treetop and low, 6 for medium, I don't know, a couple for high, whatever.
Yeah. Low, medium, high altitudes represent approximately equal amounts of altitude. Treetop is less, which is one of the reasons why when you climb from treetop, you get that extra +2 on a sustained climb.
And Mike, that's because the engines were better at that altitude, yeah?
And because the treetop level represents less altitude than the other 3 do. Because that's also used for things like trench strafing and contact patrols and stuff like that. So it's assuming that when you're at treetop level, you're pretty close to the ground. And sometimes World War I aircraft would get extremely close to the ground. There's a story from the German offensives in the spring of 1918 where some German artillery observer who was laying prone was literally run over by an SE-5.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Be a nice one to carry around, a good story in a bar.
Yeah.
If you had to,
if the observer have survived the experience, you're right.
So the last question I had, to bracket years around this, is this, what, 1916, 17?
It's July 1917 through the end of the war.
Cool.
I chose that because that's when a lot of the more advanced Allied aircraft first started coming out. But you still had some of the earlier planes on both sides, so you got a nice mix of stuff.
Is there any intentions to go back to the early part of the war?
It's a possibility, or even to go forward. I actually have already designed a 1919 expansion module for this game. It would include a lot of planes that either saw very little service in the actual war or none at all. Things like the Fokker D8, the Sopwith Snipe, the Newport 29. And that one actually also
Right.
has a couple of heavy bombers with solitaire scenarios where you try to shoot them down. You get
Gotcha.
a Handley Page 0400 and a Zeppelin Stocking R6, which are very difficult to shoot down. Basically, the plane sits there, there's rules for how they maneuver, and you get a flight leader and 3 aircraft, and you have to try to shoot the thing down before the end of the 8 turns.
All
And
right.
it can be
Thank you.
difficult. Okay.
Thank you for putting this on. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem.